The ocean as a whole is a very mysterious place. As such, there have been all sorts of myths and legends created that have been stated to be fact, when in reality, they're there because we think that's what happens in the oceans. One of the biggest ones has to revolve around sleeping. Because many people believe that creatures like sharks, whales, and dolphins don't sleep. Why? Because according to the stories, if they do, they'll drown. When in fact, the truth is a bit weirder depending on the species. For example, whales tend to reside in pods, as we know, and so when they decide to go and sleep, these pods will actually go vertical in the water to enter a form of resting. However, some whales take this a little further. Young whales will sleep while their mother swims in front of them. The younger whale will be caught in the slipstream and thus swim while sleeping. Oh, and during those first few weeks of a newborn whale's life, the mother has to swim non-stop for weeks, because if she stops, her child will sink due to not having enough mass to float on its own, so thus she'll swim and rest at the same time. Dolphins can also do this swimming and resting at the same time, but they're also just fine with going and sleeping near the surface of the water. When they do this, it's called logging because of how they resemble driftwood. If you're curious, yes, they stay alert while sleeping to watch out for predators, while others only rest for a few hours at a time to make sure they're not prone for a long time. So yes, animals do sleep in the ocean, they just have a little extra work while doing so. Personally, I'll stick to my comfy bed. We start off with arguably the most terrifying cephalopod, the Kraken. Why is this one of the scariest of all despite it being a legend of the high seas? The answer to that is simple. Its legend has spanned hundreds of years, and despite loads of proof saying that sailors mistook the Kraken for something else, like regularly sized octopi or squids, there are people who still believe it's out there, somewhere. Stories of the Kraken have been around for centuries, despite no hard proof showcasing its existence in the real world. In short, the Kraken is a massive squid or octopus, depending on how you interpret the legend, that is so massive that its tentacles could wrap around an entire ship, snapping them in half and sinking them. As for how big the Kraken is supposed to be, that depends on the person telling the tale. We know that there are some squids that can reach lengths of 50 feet or longer, but the Kraken is said to be much larger. A sailor from World War I compared it to the size of the vessel he was on and said that it reached over 100 feet. Sightings of the Kraken still happen today. A Google Earth user claimed to have seen it, and a lot of other internet enthusiasts believed him, until it was revealed to be just a rock in the oceans near Antarctica. Even still, the mystery of the Kraken continues, and the legend will most likely persist for quite some time. I mean, who doesn't love Pirates of the Caribbean? The world of insects and arachnids is one many people don't want to talk about because of how the creepy crawlies terrify them so much. Arachnophobia is a pretty common fear, and I'll admit I'm not too keen on the little guys myself. But the sad fact is these two worlds of spiders and insects is expansive and interesting and have all sorts of species that collide with each other, for better or for worse. Check out this fight between a wasp and a tarantula. Now to be clear, this battle isn't as one-sided as you think. Yes, tarantulas are bigger, but wasps are literally made to be spider killers. And so, for a 9-year-old kid from Arizona that so happily recorded the fight, it was anything but a wash, at first. Because while the tarantula did try to get the first move, it was the opening gambit of the wasp that turned out to be the deciding factor. These wasps are called spider killers for a reason. They have a sting that is able to literally paralyze its prey, which you can see in this footage as the tarantula was up on all of its legs about to strike when the wasp managed to get its venom into its 8-legged foe and literally put the tarantula into a freeze frame. What happened next is honestly a bit gruesome, but let's just say the wasp found an item to lay its eggs in. You can figure out the rest, right? One thing that humans are absolutely fascinated with is the lifespan of animals. Scientists love to watch creatures go from life until death to go and witness just how long they'll survive in normal circumstances. The problem is though that because of the habitats and length of life of certain creatures, it can be hard to tell just how long some live. And for one jellyfish, it pushes the bounds beyond logic and into sci-fi. We say this because there is a jellyfish that apparently has immortality. The scientific name for this jellyfish is Turritopsis dohrnii, and it has a very unique ability that allows it to be immortal. Mainly, it doesn't become mature, and stays that way. Confused? We'll explain. This is how it works. The immortal jellyfish, which is an appropriate nickname, will age until it's an adult. Then it'll go and mate with another jellyfish, and after it does so, it'll actually revert to its younger form, or its juvenile form. After it goes back into this state, it'll start aging again until it goes and mates, then it'll start all over again. Due to this repeating process, they are immortal. To be clear, immortality is defined by not dying, however, there are many catches to this. In the case of this jellyfish, it can still die by being eaten. But in terms of aging, it cannot die via living so long that its body just can't go on. It regresses each time, so that issue never comes up. As of right now, this is the only known creature that has such a weird ability, and as a result, people of many scientific branches are studying it to learn how it could evolve such a trait and whether it can be harnessed for other purposes. Because, as ever, humans all over are enticed by the idea of immortality. Heading now to the realm of the weird and the real, we go from the largest of the cephalopods to the smallest. This is the Pygmy squid, and it lives up to the hype. This particular squid has been recorded off the coasts of New South Wales, South Australia, Tasmania, and Victoria. Though the fact that they found them at all is a bit of a miracle. The reason for that is because Pygmy squids don't grow more than an inch in length. What's more, they only live in grassy areas on the seafloor. They've been recorded as going from blade of seagrass to blade of seagrass and not venturing far beyond it, no doubt due to their size and how predators would easily scoop them up. Patches of sticky cells along a Pygmy squid's back allow them to stick themselves firmly onto grass blades when they need to rest, a very handy evolution that ensures they don't wander from the habitat they're born in, which would usually happen due to natural currents or even just the movements of other animals potentially influencing them. They use a similar tactic when it comes to breeding. The females will lay their eggs in a row on a blade of grass. One row per blade, and she'll stay there protecting them until they're hatched. Even though they're small, they know how to live and survive despite their deficiencies. Here's one that you probably wouldn't expect, but does happen fairly regularly depending on the species. Because when it comes to snakes, they're known to handle prey in one of two ways. The first is biting their victim and poisoning them, and the second is through constriction. Especially for creatures like boa constrictors, it's literally in their name. The constrictors use their massive frames to squeeze the life out of prey so they can eat them without any issues. But in the case of this boa constrictor, it didn't go the way it wanted to. We say that because while its true snakes do eat porcupines, they tend to eat them all at once. But this boa tried to try out its constriction method and got nothing but spines in return. First of all, ouch! Second of all, you'd think the snake would have realized this was going to be a bad idea, but nope, it still went through with it. The poor porcupine was just trying to defend itself. If you're curious, when snakes do eat porcupines properly, they actually allow the spines to be swallowed inside of them. It doesn't bother them, especially after digestion. But in this case, yeah, it bothered this snake quite a bit. Live and learn, Mr. Boa. You have to live and learn to survive in this world. Picture, if you will, a bullfighting arena in Spain. The crowd is cheering, a gallant matador enters the arena, and across from him is a vicious bull ready to strike. The matador goes and pulls out its red cloak or cape and dangles it towards the bull, daring it to charge. And it does. Just as it's about to strike, the matador pulls it away, much to the excitement of the crowd. This sequence has been done many times over the years, and it's left a very big myth for people to believe that bulls hate red. But here's the thing, they don't. In fact, not unlike dogs, their eyes don't let them perceive red like our own eyes do. So in many ways, they don't see the red at all. This was put to the test in a big way by Mythbusters. They presented a red rag to the bull, and sure enough, it charged. Then they swapped it out with two different colors, and the bull still charged them every time. After that, they did a test where they kept a red rag stationary and had another color moving back and forth. The bull always went for the one that moved. So in the Matador fight, the bull couldn't care less about the color of the rag, just that it's there and that it wants to get it, and stop being stabbed. As for why the Matador has a red rag, it's meant to hide blood, should the need arise. Would you ever go running with the bulls in Spain? Would you dare? Or have you already? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to hit that subscribe button for more crazy facts about animals. While the legend of the Kraken is one that many believe in, those who know the ocean know that the true terror of the cephalopod species is the giant squid. This species is very real, and it's the biggest that researchers know to exist. In terms of how big they actually get, that's up for debate. It wasn't until 2004 that the first natural photos of the giant squid in its natural habitat came to light. What's more, it's hard to observe the giant squid due to the varying depths they live at in the ocean. But at present, the accepted lengths that there are known to be at max is 39 to 43 feet long, and they weigh in at 600 pounds, though some speculate they can get to 66 feet in length. Only one squid at 43 feet has ever been captured. If you think that the giant squid inspired the legends of the Kraken, you're more than likely right. These cephalopods aren't really known to attack ships though. They actually very rarely even come to the surface of the water at all. They live at depths of around 3,000 feet or deeper below sea level, putting them well out of the range of ships. Still, that doesn't mean they aren't scary, as they're known to shoot ink and wrap their massive tentacles around their unfortunate prey or anything that they feel is getting too close to them. And when they eat, they use a beak that most people forget they have to rip their food to shreds. Since sightings of the giant squids are so rare, they're still quite mysterious, and scientists are still studying them. Because of that, it's very possible they get even bigger. As you all likely know, primates are the closest animals in the world to humans as far as DNA goes. A very interesting fact, wouldn't you say? And not unlike humans, they have fights within their own families. But what many fail to realize is that these fights can get downright vicious and brutal, a lot worse than anything you'd see at Thanksgiving. At one zoo, when a family of gorillas decided to get into a spat with each other, onlookers watched in shock. So where's the mismatch? Simple, much of the family decided to attack the biggest gorilla of the bunch at once, which in this case was incredibly stupid because this alpha gorilla towered over the rest of them and as a result had much more mass to put power into. The captured clips showed the alpha gorilla going ape and dragging away one of the smaller gorillas and chasing others all around the pen. Apparently, a baby gorilla was even hurt as a result of the fight. This kind of behavior isn't what we expect usually because gorillas are known to be quite gentle, but in this case, they were anything but. Didn't see that one coming, did ya? But it's true. When the platypus was first examined in 1799, the scientists in charge of the examination were quite certain that the animal put in front of them was a hoax because it looked like a creature that had been sewn together. When the platypus was confirmed to actually be real sometime later, it got a bit of a cult following, mainly because its oddness was considered adorable. After all, it had the bill of a duck, the tail of a beaver, the feet of an otter, and a very fuzzy furry body. So on the surface, it looked like a hodgepodge of adorable creatures. However, male platypi have a secret weapon that it isn't afraid to use against prey. Within their front paws is a spur, and for the male platypus, that spur is venomous. Upon finding out about this unique feature, scientists did some research and found that the platypus actually has 83 venomous genes in their bodies. They use these to kill for food. Though to be clear, the venom that they have in their spurs isn't enough to kill humans, but it can kill many other animals, including other platypi, which they're more than willing to eat when the need arises. So while it might be a joke, the platypus is no joke when it comes to eating and surviving. As just stated, there are many creatures we know very little about. This also applies to the incredibly strange creature known as the Flapjack Octopus. We know that it's a kind of umbrella octopus, but it's also its own group called Opistoteuthis. An umbrella octopus, you're asking? Well, it pretty much looks exactly how you're imagining it. The Flapjack Octopus has a saucer-like shape, and their bodies don't really conform to the normal standards of the cephalopod line. They have 3 different methods of moving, including a form of jet propulsion, pulsing their arms, and just swimming via their fins. And like the giant squid, they can be creatures of the deep and prefer very dimly lit waters to roam in. They're said to be at depths of 4,900 feet at times, so scientists haven't had the easiest of times studying them. It's also said that when they're on the dusty ocean floor, they'll flatten their bodies on the ground in order to resemble puddles. Why? Well, we really just don't know. Why do you think they do this? To camouflage? For comfort? Maybe they're meditating? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section down below, and if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. Okay, this is a matchup that we're pretty sure no one could have seen coming. And trust us when we say that this is the most brutal fight on the list, by far. You see, at a chimpanzee enclosure, a group of chimps were rummaging around their pen when all of a sudden they saw something out of the ordinary. Hidden within the greenery of the pen was a raccoon. Apparently, chimps hate raccoons almost as much as humans. So what did they do? They straight up mobbed it and started beating the crap out of it. We're not exaggerating this. Look at how vicious the chimps are. At one point, they even started throwing the raccoon into the air to send it flying across the pen. Surely it escaped after that, right? Wrong. Because as the raccoon went to retreat into a nearby pipe, which is likely how it got into the pen in the first place, the chimps grabbed it by the tail, pulled it out, and started punching it all over again. Thankfully, the raccoon did eventually get a chance to escape, but the brutality of these chimps was something frightening, and a good reminder that while it might seem like a neat idea to have a monkey as a pet, this could be the result if you happen to tick them off. There are many birds in the world that are able to do a kind of sound mimicry, including parrots, but the lyrebird takes this to a whole new level. How so? Because instead of just mimicking something it just heard, it can go and mimic anything it hears, and then basically keep the sound. This is because the lyrebird has a very complex set of vocal cords, one that can change their pitch and range for a portrayal of a sound. They've been known to mimic the sounds of chainsaws, car engines, barking dogs, and of course, human voices. They can also mimic the sounds of other animals that are within their habitat, maybe warding off predators by making the sounds of creatures they wouldn't approach on their own. That in and of itself is odd behavior, and you've got to wonder how those vocal cords developed. But there's a twist here. The lyrebird will actually use an amalgamation of these sounds, a big mishmash, as a mating call to other lyrebirds, making it arguably the most unique mating call the world has ever heard. And it does make you wonder what those mates really think of those sounds, because it can't be easy on most ears. But if it works, right? You may be aware that there are some creatures both on land and in the water that have a transparent shell. But did you know that there is a species of squid that is almost 100% transparent? Meet the spiny cranch squid, a species of glass squid. These very odd squids have a number of factors that make them unique compared to other cephalopods, and one of them is very obvious: their transparent skin. Due to their transparency, they can very easily blend into the water in a way that most fish can't. Excellent camouflage for life in the open water at perpetually dark depths. This helps them escape predators, but that's not all they can do. Another trick they've learned is to inflate their bodies like a balloon to a size that most of their predators can't digest, so they're normally left alone. If neither of these tactics works, their third option is to use the natural protrusions that come out of their body like a spiky shell, similar to a blowfish. They can also pull their entire head and all of their tentacles inside of their body, just like a turtle. As we've already shown you, hippos can be quite aggressive when they want to be. The problem though is that just like before, a hippo picked the wrong opponent to go up against. In this case, an African elephant, which just so happens to be one of the biggest animals in the world. Oops. I mean, hippos really need to learn some common sense. So what happened here? Well, unlike the last incident, you could at least see where the hippo was coming from in its attack. As one photographer witnessed, a group of hippos were bunched together in an African river as an elephant decided to wade across it. Not an antagonizing move, right? Well, it wouldn't have been, except for the fact that the elephant crossed by straight up walking through the pack of hippos, causing them to disperse unless they wanted to get trampled. One hippo didn't like that one bit and decided to face off with the elephant. The problem was that the elephant didn't care because it was so much bigger than the hippo. The hippo was relentless until a bunch of other elephants showed up. Soon the hippo finally realized that it was beat. This is a literal case of needing to pick on something your own size. We'll be perfectly honest, there are some animal traits that truly go and boggle the mind, and there are some animals who have the ability to shoot projectiles in a way that is truly frightening. You might know one of them as the archerfish, but the one that takes it to a whole new level is the pistol shrimp. This shrimp is known for multiple things, all very cool, but they all come back to its claw. One claw in particular, as they're asymmetrical in size. This shrimp can snap that claw at such a speed that two different things happen. 1. It makes a sound that is over 200 decibels, making it one of the loudest creatures in the world. And then that pressure makes the water so hot that it shoots out an aqua bullet that can be up to 7,700 Celsius. Whether by sound or the heat, the pistol shrimp is able to use this ability to perfectly go and stun prey and then drag it off to be eaten. This isn't something you'd expect from an animal at all, and yet it's there for all to see, hear, and feel. It is very weird, but these creatures are so cool. While you may not encounter them on a regular day at the beach, unless you live in Australia, some cephalopods can be quite dangerous if you get too close. One that's easily separated from the others in terms of their danger factor is the blue-ringed octopus. Not only is it a master of camouflage, but it has one of the most deadly toxins in the world, tetrodotoxin. If this toxin sounds familiar, it's because this same poison can be found in pufferfish, as well as the infamous poison dart frog. When it's just trying to get by in the water, it'll blend in with the environment and hide in plain sight. Then, when it gets threatened, it'll turn its skin yellow and reveal the blue rings that gave it its name, and then lash out at those foolish enough to get in its space, which can obviously include humans if they're not careful. Tetrodotoxin is incredibly potent and is able to kill a human at the slightest touch of it. Plus, because of the size of the blue-ringed octopus, it only gets to about 8 inches or 20 centimeters in length. It's super easy to miss and you can get stung, but you'll know you were almost immediately when you start to feel the poison shooting through your veins. If not treated within minutes of the venom getting into your system, it will kill you. Due to how venomous it is, it's classified as one of the deadliest marine animals in the world today. But they are kind of adorable, cute, and deadly. When it comes to zebras and wildebeest, many people think they're solely prey, just for bigger animals like lions and cheetahs. But they are truly so much more than that. These two species are able to understand the very nature of the world they live in, and honestly have a type of symbiotic bond that allows them to survive. How so? Well, they often find themselves in the same areas of the savannah, but eat different kinds of grass. Because of this, they can live in harmony in areas with plenty of food without infringing on each other's survival. The problem in this case happened at a watering hole. A young wildebeest had apparently gotten separated from its pack and felt it would be best to attach itself to the nearby zebras, which, believe it or not, is something that happens often. But then, when it started to cry out for its mother, a trio of zebras came up and attacked it, harshly, in a way that you wouldn't really expect from zebras. It's believed that the zebras heard the cry from the youngling and believed it would mark them as a target and put them in danger from bigger wildebeests. So they did what they thought was best for their pack. Can you really blame them? Let's get back to humans going and thinking animals are constantly dumber than them, shall we? Because another very popular myth that many people have said to be true is that of goldfish only having a 30-second memory at best. Some have even said it only lasts 3 seconds. Why do people say that about poor little goldfish? It's hard to say, maybe they just think less of them, it's hard to know for sure. But it's been proven over and over again that the goldfish of the world honestly do have a good memory, albeit one that isn't as good as humans. A great example of this being tested was during Mythbusters. In one of the early seasons, Adam Savage and Jamie Hyneman each went to work with their own goldfish to try and get them to go through a maze in order to prove their memory. By the end of it, Jamie's fish were able to get through the maze in seconds as they realized that the holes, that were orange, were the gateway to the food that rested on the other side. They did this consistently over the course of many days, proving that they do have good memories and you can train them. This next tale is about a jaguar from Brazil called Scarface. Yes, that was its name. It was given to it by a photographer that followed it and chronicled its movements. Jaguars are known to be apex predators on land in Brazil. They're natural hunters capable of incredible speed and instincts that allow it to catch prey without much issue. But in this case, Scarface did something that the photographer didn't expect. It lunged off the land into a nearby river and attacked a caiman. If you aren't familiar, caimans are one of the most dangerous crocodile species in the world, so going after one is, let's just say, bold. But that right there is the twist. You'd think that in the water, the caiman would have the advantage, but because of the way Scarface attacked it and how it got its jaws around its opponent's neck, it was not able just to win, but win flawlessly. It dragged that caiman out of the water and went on its merry way as if it was just any other piece of meat. So, just like his namesake, this cat was a boss and king of the wild. It's honestly a little bit surprising it took us this long to get to a story of a human screwing up near animals, because as we all hopefully know, humans are animals themselves, and humans can be quite stupid with how they handle themselves around other creatures, such as when one photographer in Rwanda was observing a pack of silverback gorillas and decided to get as close as possible to them, not thinking about how the gorillas might not like that. Sure enough, the alpha male of the gorilla group took offense to the photographer's action and charged at him with a clenched fist. Thankfully, the photographer was able to escape and get good footage of the gorillas beforehand, but not without having a really close call. So we've already seen a jaguar going up against a crocodile and winning, but what about one of the other big cats? Let's say a tiger. This happened in India at a tiger reserve, and it did indeed feature a tiger going up against a croc, something that happens more often than you'd realize. The victor is usually determined by who can get the drop on who first, not unlike the jaguar with its attack earlier. In this case though, it wasn't just a tiger going after prey, it was a case of a mama tiger going after the crocodile in order to protect its cubs. And to be clear, this wasn't a small crocodile like the jaguar had in proportion to its body. Instead, this was a 14-foot-long crocodile that the tiger was seen ripping apart and killing, all to save its cubs. When the picture and footage of this was released to the world, the tiger became instantly famous, and I'm not surprised. You go, Mama Tiger! In Kenya, a matchup between some of the big five occurred, and it was incredible. You see, lions may be the alphas of the savannah in many instances, but they tend to do things their way. In this case, they prefer to be stealthy and blindside opponents in order to get the advantage before they have the chance to counter an attack. And this is what they tried to do in Kenya, but they found themselves stalking a group of black rhinos. The problem for the lions, though, was the rhinos caught wind of them and charged at them, forcing them to scatter. But wait, there's more, because after the lion dispersal, a third opponent arrived with a group of elephants. They helped get rid of the lions before focusing on the rhinos. A tense stare-down occurred. But then the elephants went away, maybe just backing down for now. While a full-blown scuffle didn't go down, it surely could have, and that would have been something truly epic to behold. Thanks for watching. What did you think of this look at animals who bit off a bit more than they could chew and learned their lesson the hard way? Can you believe these animal fights happened? Which ones do you think would have been interesting to watch live? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.